It's party time, my golf story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers. And the golf real estate pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Now here's your host, Kevin Walsh.
Hey, what's going on? We got a great show for you by popular demand. You know, when I started the podcast a little more than 4 months ago, a lot of my neighborhoods, especially on Mulligan Way at Lakewood National Golf Club, which just hosted the LeCom Suncoast Classic, one of the regular Korn Ferry Tour events. A lot of my neighbors have been asking me, when are you going to have Steven Stallings Jr. on? Well, today is the day. And let me timestamp this for you. We're 2 days removed from that golf tournament, which was won by Tim Veeding at 20 under par. And I thought I'd tell you a little bit about how the experience was for us as neighbors having it in our backyard. And in some ways, I think I loved it. Loved it. My neighbors loved it. I think the players love it. I think they love the fact that we come out and watch them, that we volunteer, that we put players and caddies up at our houses. And maybe we brought some good luck to a couple people. My neighbors, the Wingerts, who live 2 houses away, they hosted Noah Goodwin, who finished 19 under par, just a shot out of the playoffs, tied for fourth. And the Remingtons that live a couple more houses away, they hosted Brent Grant. He finished tied for 37th. Some of the other big news that happened during the Korn Ferry Tour event in our backyard was the amateur Miles Russell, 15-year-old kid from Jacksonville, finished tied for 20th. 14 under par, and Danny Walker, a Lakewood Ranch kid that went to Lakewood Ranch High School and had a great high school career and then a college career. And now he's cutting his teeth in the pro ranks. He finished also at 14 under par, tie for 20th. Big thanks to our title sponsors, Party Drinks. If you're looking for an alternative to a drink on the golf course, if you want something other than beer, crappy seltzers, or a popular drink that's named after the time of day, then Party is for you. For golfers, by golfers, the smoothest drink out there. And the reason why is because we use the finest ingredients. Vodka distilled 6 times and rum distilled twice and then barreled for a year. It makes all the difference. Start with a good foundation. You have a good drink. That's what Party's all about. And thanks to the real estate specialists from suncoastdreams.com, Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh. They live at Lakewood National Golf Club. So if your dreams in the future are to purchase a home here and there is some inventory, give them a call. They are the people for you. You can find them at 941-220, or you can also find them at suncoastdreams.com. One other thing, a housekeeping thing. I often ask people to like the podcast and subscribe to it. If you've done that, thanks. It makes a big difference because the bean counters at YouTube and our other listening channels, Apple and Spotify, they keep a close eye on that. And if you can leave a 5-star review as well, that would go a long way. All right. So that's the housekeeping stuff. Let's bring the big guy on board, Steven Stallings Jr. Hey, man, this is a long time coming. I'm glad we finally got together. And well, let's just share a little bit of fun here. Just the technical side of things. Getting us up. And how many different rooms in your house have we been in before we started recording here?
A few number. Lakewood National Homes are not good for podcasts, apparently. It's soundproof walls.
It's the tiles that are in them. They look nice and everything, but it makes that pinging sound. I think we started in the kitchen. We were in the hallway. We were in the closet. And so where are we right now?
We're back in the side of the kitchen. So it's got a wood table on the kitchen table, so that hopefully that is not producing the echo that the countertops were. So
okay, all good, man. Hey, I'm glad to have you on the program. I've been wanting to have you on for a long time. I know the neighbors are going to be really, really happy about that. Let's talk about the recent news, and that was the Suncoast Classic in our backyard here. Not the result that you wanted, a miscut, but do you feel a lot better after the second round, 63, 8 under par 63?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I can build on, get some confidence low round. But overall, I mean, still pretty bummed out about the first day. I mean, I just kind of let it get out of control a little bit and couldn't figure it out and save it where I could maybe have played my way back into it the second round. But who knows what I would have shot the 7 under 64 the second day if I held into. So I mean, a lot of what ifs, but I can definitely build on that. It's positive momentum and going on to the next one. So
tell me about playing the home game and just the experience playing in the backyard, having the tour in the backyard. I know some people think the home field advantage is a tremendous advantage, but not so, because it comes with distractions, more people pulling for you. I'm wondering what the experience was like for you, and because you've been there a few times.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like have two homes, Kentucky and here. I live here full time now, but when I go back to play events in Kentucky, you get the same thing. You get a lot of friends, family, so you want to play well for them. So I mean, that puts a little bit more pressure on yourself. There's always some hoopla going around the event. Maybe you have to do a few activities that you normally don't do in another event. And like just knowing the golf course doesn't always mean that it's great, because like playing the golf course, especially here, like Lakewood National during the week, there's a lot of different pin locations we never see when we're playing as members every week that show up to the tournament. And it just kind of is like, you kind of get over the shot in the tournament. You knew it existed, but you're like, wow, that looks a lot different. It's a lot harder of a shot because the pin's tucked a little bit more on the side, where when you play on a normal day, they're kind of in the middle of the green. So it's not quite the home course advantage that you normally get. And sometimes it's almost harder because you're used to having it look one way and it looks the other. But I mean, everybody gets to see the golf course before. Everybody's a good player these days. So it all comes down to executing. Now there's going to be putts here and there that, the break more than anybody else would. So that definitely helps a little bit, but like the home course advantage is I'm not a huge believer in it, because I think everybody gets to see the golf course. Everybody's super smart these days, where they pick apart a golf course, game plan it, and everything like that. So it really comes down to executing shots. So I'm not a huge believer in the home course advantage at all. So
well said. Stephen Stallings Jr. is our guest. He's one of my neighbors here at Lakewood National Golf Club. Probably for you, it'd be a hybrid. You cut the corner if you were knocking a ball over into my front door. For me, I'd probably play the dog like around the corner and driver, and maybe a 6-iron to your house because you're long. Give me a feel. Do the players like coming here? I mean, can you feel it? I certainly love having you guys here. It just creates a buzz around the neighborhood. Is this one of the better stops on the Corn Ferry Tour?
Yeah, I mean, being in the neighborhood, like just the community here is so great anyway. So it's like, I think it adds to the thing. Most of the players are staying in, their caddies are staying in the community. You don't see that anywhere else. And then like the golf course, I mean, Joel has it in like phenomenal shape. You're not going to find a golf course that was in better shape this past week. I mean, he got the cuts down low this week, and there was a lot of grass, and it just, you're not going to find anything really better unless they shut down the golf course for 6 months and hadn't have anybody play, but that doesn't happen anywhere. So, I mean, you don't see it, but it was phenomenal. All the players are excited to play a course like that. The golf course is fun. You can make a lot of birdies if you get going. And I think everybody had a really good week, especially with the weather.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
It was so good. And I just like kind of the party atmosphere. Had a couple glasses of wine with Brent in the days leading up, and also with Noah. It was just a really good time. And there's a reason why a lot of players keep coming back, and I hope we can keep the tournament in town for a long time to come. Stephen, take me back to the beginning. You're a Kentucky kid. Where exactly did you grow up, and what was life like for you? Tell me about the neighborhood. Make me feel like I was there with you.
Well, I was born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky, which is, it's a city, but it's not that big. It's a big, small town, in my opinion. In certain communities, everybody knows everybody. So, so I grew up in a sports family. My mom played a bunch of sports in high school, varsity level, everything, was a star athlete. My dad played golf in college at LSU, and then he never turned pro, but he played successfully as an amateur after college. And so I just kind of grew up into that. So sports was something I was always doing. I played everything. Whatever was in season was my favorite sport. And then as I got older, football was kind of like my favorite. And then eventually, because my dad played, and then I had a friend whose grandpa was the head pro at public course in Louisville. And, he kind of gave us free reign when we were like 11, 12 years old at the golf course. They had a little like par 3 in the back. So my parents would just drop me off there, and we would hang out all day with a bunch of junior golfers and play money games and stuff like that, or play for Snickers. And I just kind of fell in love doing that over the summer. So like eventually when I got to high school, it was football and golf were the same season. So kind of had to choose a little bit. And I chose golf because I was having a lot more fun in the summer with that, with all my friends and family doing that.
I had the same issue. Golf was the fall season where I grew up in Pennsylvania. I played football, loved football. I wish golf was in the spring. Then I could have had it both ways, but I think I made the right choice with that. Let me drill down a little bit deeper on the money games. I love hearing about money games when you're a kid. You mentioned Snickers, but when money was on the line, how much were you guys playing for?
Well, I mean, everybody was different. I don't think we really had any of our own money back then. So there some of it might have been figurative speaking, but I mean, $5, $10 playing for lunch. I mean, that was kind of like that. That really is anything. Get your heartbeat going a little bit, get some smack talk going. And I mean, just having fun as kids, playing chipping games, putting contests. It didn't matter. And we just wanted something to play for and beat the other person.
Yeah, you want to put some pressure on. Well, you grew up around some good golfers. Your dad, I want to get into playing with your dad, but you also had Justin Thomas, he is a little bit older than you. Cooper Musselman, who was on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. Tell me some stories about who around you look to and aspired to play like.
Growing up, my dad kind of always had a say in my golf game for the most part. I didn't really listen to him though. And it took till probably college I actually listened to him. And he had a lot of friends in golf on his golf team that were really good players, and through connections of his playing days. So I was fortunate enough to be around a lot of good players. And then being behind Justin was 2 years older than me. So, being behind him was kind of like helpful because then like me and Cooper the same age, always were playing together. But being behind Justin kind of was like, Justin was a world beater right from the get-go. Like junior golf, nobody really could beat him. I mean, it was him and Spieth. So for me, and I would say Cooper too, like we were kind of always in his shadow. And as we were getting better, we knew like there was always that extra gear. We had to get a little bit more step. And because we knew how good Justin was and he was beating everybody else. So it was like, we knew what we needed to do. And, I played every sport and, growing up. So I was kind of late to the game, kind of a late bloomer, but I always was pretty athletic. So once I got focused on golf, it kind of came pretty quickly, but definitely was later to the game at that point. So, but like being around great players, you get better, and having competitions, it was a fun time.
Yeah. Do you remember beating your dad for the first time?
I don't really remember. I know it was like around sophomore. It took a lot longer probably than it should have, but it was probably like sophomore in high school. I remember the first time, I think because he was like, the first time I had driven him was, I think I remember that more than when I beat him, because I think he was kind of like, it's coming at that point. It knew it was only, I was a freshman in high school. So I think at that point he knew it was coming. It just took a lot longer. He can still wedge and putt and better than both. So he always beat me more than he should have, but now he can't beat me. So
that's the way it goes. And he's probably happy about that. That's the natural progression of things.
Yeah.
When did you break 80 for the first time? Was that a tipping point at some point?
Yeah. I mean, it definitely was like, I think the first time I broke 80, I was probably like 8th grade or freshman year of high school. That definitely was like, okay, I can play a little bit. At that point, I never really got ahead of myself. So that point I was like, when I'm going to go play high school golf and try to be really good at it. So, I mean, I think that helped a little bit. But, I'd never really thought about it. I was just trying to break 80, and then the next thing after you break 80, now you're trying to break par. So, and that came quickly after breaking 80. So like once I got fully into golf, I quickly progressed and everything kind of started knocking down after that.
What's the lowest round you've ever shot? It doesn't have to be in competition, but have you broken 60?
I'm not. 60 is my lowest. I shot 60 last year in a pro-am over in it was a pro-am for it was off-site pro-am for the Sanderson. So it didn't really matter that much, but we had to keep scores. So, but that I shot 60, and then like real competition, I shot 61 in a Monday qualifier a couple years ago in Minnesota. So those are my 2 low rounds.
Well, that 61, that was a course record. You had 2 course records in Monday qualifiers, 3 straight Monday qualifiers in which you were 24 under par. You had a hot hand. So that was 2021. Do you remember that stretch? Like, why so hot? What was working?
Well, I just was, I got comfortable out there. It kind of like all goes back through COVID. Like COVID kind of like, I was really starting to play really well and right before COVID hit, and then COVID hit and, kind of like killed a lot of momentum. And then like playing good golf. But then I got a opportunity to play in a tour event in Dominican, and I made the cut there, finished 30th that week. And that kind of got me through, that kind of like boosted my confidence a little bit going into the 2021. And we were still had a lot of limitations because of COVID. And what really kind of got me going is I Mondayed in the Honda earlier that year, and like having that, like Mondays are just tough. Like you got to shoot and you think you can get through, but until it happens, like I don't think you're kind of like, man, you're doing it a lot of times and missing, which is normal, but it kind of blocks. You're like, man, I'm just not going. So once I got through with the Honda, I just got on a roll because I was like, I knew I could do it, show up, and I knew figuratively speaking, I broke it down. I was like, I only have to beat 10 guys because like there was always the guys that were older that maybe weren't playing well, and that's why they're in the Monday. Then you got the guys that probably going to psych themselves out because they're playing for a PGA Tour event. And so like that. And then there's probably like 10 to 12 guys in the field that are really playing well, and you got to beat those guys today. So I just kind of
you got to go low. I mean, there's probably, even when you got a good round going, you probably think it still might not be enough. You just got to keep the accelerator down and run out of holes. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, it honestly is harder if you birdie the first 6 holes. It makes the Monday qualifier a lot harder because you got a lot more holes with pressure on you. Because it's better. Like I would prefer to go like if you're going to shoot a 29, 28, which it takes a lot of times for a Monday. It's much better to do it on the back because you don't have to play the whole back 9 with that pressure. Like, man, I better not screw this up because I'm already hot. So it's definitely harder.
Math in your head. I mean, that's how I play. And I remember talking to Stuart Appleby several years ago after he shot 59 in the final round at the Greenbrier to win it. And I asked him, I'm like, are you doing math in your head? He said, I thought I was so far back it wouldn't matter. He said, I tried to birdie them all, but I still didn't think there were enough holes and opportunities. It worked out. He said he never knew when he holed out on 18. He asked his caddy, what was that for? He said 59. He's like, so if he had the math in his head, it might have screwed it up. And I've screwed up a lot of good rounds because I had the math in my head. Like you said, you don't want to birdie the first 6 holes because then you're sort of like in protection mode instead of just the chase, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think most guys, they know where they stand. Now, when it gets to like, when you're in the low 60s, you kind of lose track because it's like it happens so fast. It's hard, but like for the most part, you kind of know where you are. But it's also like a lot of people are like, you got to play aggressive. And it's like, you never know when you're going to rack 5 off. Like, I mean, as a pro golfer, pretty much majority of the guys are good enough to make 5 birdies in a row. And if you think about it in your low rounds, you never know when that stretch is coming. So it's like, it's a big part to stay in the game. Like you don't want to play yourself out early. So it's like everybody's saying, go pin hunt at a Monday. I'm not a fan of that. I think you play it like a normal day and you just keep trying to make pars. And then if you get that 5-6 hole stretch of making 5-6 in a row, I mean, then that's just a bonus, but you don't know when it's going to come. So it's about staying patient and just playing the same game plan, in my opinion.
Stephen Stallings Jr. is our guest here on It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. If you're looking for an alternative to the tired beers, crappy seltzers, or drinks named after a time of day, Party is a drink for you. And a big thanks to our golf real estate pros who are located at Lakewood National Golf Club, where we're doing the broadcast from. Vince Vizzacaro and Gene Walsh, if you're looking to buy a house. And there is some inventory at Lakewood National Golf Club, one of the best golf communities in America. Contact Gene and Vince at 941-220-4000, or you can check them out at suncoastdreams.com. Steven, so you played in 12 PGA Tour events, made the cut in seven of them. Pretty good stuff. So you can play out there. When you're done with the tournament, what part of your game do you say, okay, I got this good, and where do you feel maybe you need to improve?
I mean, it depends on the event. I mean, I know I'm an elite driver of the golf ball. I'm pretty long. I'm pretty straight. There's probably not too many guys on the planet, if I'm on with my driver, that can drive it better than me. So like most of the time it's my short game. Like right now, after this week, I talked to some coaches, and we're going to really focus on pitching and putting. But like the thing that's kind of held me back is kind of the putter in the past. But I've had good weeks putting, but the big thing is pitching and short game. Just that's what my big plan is moving forward, and it kind of always is. It never can be good enough, no matter who you are. So that's kind of like what I'm working on, and makes everything else easier. Is if your short game's good, you're probably going to birdie the par fives, especially if you're a longer hitter. So if making more birdies on par fives takes pressure off on other holes.
Tell me something. Why the greater Sarasota area? Why did you choose to settle here and not the other coast?
Really, because my family's been coming down here since I was in probably middle school. And we were kind of like the first few years we started coming down, we were kind of all over the West Coast looking at Tampa area, and the golf courses in we're just better in Lakewood Ranch. So I would just always come down here on Christmas breaks through high school, through college, just to practice my game and go on family vacations. So when I graduated college, knew I wanted to go to Florida, but just didn't know where. And, my dad was like, well, we might visit you more if you come to this side. So I was kind of in between Orlando and here. And because I had some buddies that were living in Orlando, and when his said that, and then I had some friends here too. So like, I guess I was like, you know what, Lakewood Ranch would probably be better for me. And I'm glad I chose it too, because I think it's a really cool community, and I definitely like it off the golf course. So like, that's a big thing, where if I was probably in Orlando or East Coast, it's kind of like, I don't know if I would have loved the outside of golf life as much. So I'm glad I chose here.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. Let's talk about your name. You're a junior. You go by Steven, and Dad's Steve.
Yes.
There's another Stallings, Scott Stallings. How often do people mix you up? A
lot. I got it this week too, and I'm like, every event I play in, I get called Scott. Like if we're in the same event, the ticket problem, I think he gets irritated a little bit, because a few times his tickets have been given to me for the week, and he's like, what happened and all that. So, I'm just used to it now. Hell, I hold out the Travelers a couple years ago, and there was a big gallery there, and they're all yelling, they're all chanting Scott. And I'm like, okay, I guess it's my Scott this week. So, but it's pretty common.
It is what it is. Let's talk about life behind the scenes of pro golf, because I think I got a good look at it. Families together, families following golfers around. In a lot of ways, it seems joyous. At other times, it seems painful when guys are right on the cut line or they're struggling and everything. To me, it seems like there are incredible highs and incredible lows with pro golf. Am I onto something?
Yeah, there's highs and your lows. You never know when it's going to come to. You can be in your lowest of lows, and the high comes the next week. And you can be on the highs and just get knocked in the teeth. So it's definitely stressful. And I would say the longer you're a pro and longer you're around golf, I think everybody gets it. Like, you're probably, if you're low, you're probably not as far low as you think you are. If you're high, you're never as high as you think you should be. So, it's just trying to middle game and just know there's always another week. There's no job security in golf for the most part, unless you win a major. Every year is something new. So if you have a bad year, you're back down. If you're on the tour, you're back down to Korn Ferry. If you have a bad year on Korn Ferry, you're down to nothing. So it's like, it all comes down to playing well at the right time in the fall. At the end of the day, does that set you up for the next year? but it's definitely highs and lows, and it's about keep moving forward, and you got to take a bigger perspective.
It's tough though, and I don't know a single person that's played competitive golf that didn't hate it at some point, and they may just hate and say that they've had enough of it, or they fall out of love with it, and then they fall back in love with it again. Kevin Roy is a pretty good example. We had a real good discussion about a month ago, and he talked about hating the game and trying to put the fun back into it. Did you ever hate pro golf?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's definitely portions where like I hate golf, but like I don't know if I really mean it. I still love it. So I mean, you just got to keep moving. I mean, I just try to not let myself get into that mindset too much. But it definitely, like this week after the first round, I'm like, I'm just like what do I have to do to start playing good golf sometimes? And it's like, and then the next day I shoot 64. So it's just like a funny game, and it's like. But like, you got to take the bigger perspective and realize, it's 1 week. There's tons of weeks this year. So it's like, we're going to have some good golf this year, and just keep hoping that it's going to come and work into it. Put your head down, and then it'll start. Results will start showing.
Do you have a welcome to pro golf moment where you saw somebody hit a shot, shoot around, or just whatever, and you're like, wow, I don't have that, or I got to get that. What's it like?
I don't have like off the top of my head. I mean, I have had a couple things like that were like, man, that's pretty impressive. Like I was watching David Duvall in one of my early tour starts hit chip shots, and like he's an older guy now, not really doing much, but he's hitting chip shots on the side of him. He's hitting 10 yards chip shots, and he's spinning them back, and I'm like, how is that possible? Like I don't have that shot. So stuff like that you see. I mean, I would see the fan moments definitely. There's a lot of. I don't think I realized the pressure of playing on the PGA Tour until I got there. Like my first tour start, on the first tee shot, I could not feel my hands. I couldn't feel my body. And I don't think I ever could have prepared that. I mean, I felt like there was pressure in college golf, amateur golf, but nothing compared to that first tee shot I had on the PGA Tour. And it was another world of not feeling your body. Like, people talk about it, but I'd never really experienced it like that. So
how'd that tee shot go?
It went down the middle. I hit it.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was no feeling, because I like to have like a swing thought before I hit or something like that. There was no way. It was just try to get this club head back and get it through, and hopefully it's on the planet. Yeah,
and the muscle memory kicked in, and you striped it right down the middle.
I kind of blacked out. I don't really remember other than I couldn't hit the
trigger. Tell me about like the best shot you ever hit. Pressure was on the line, or a putt for a lot of money. It could have been pro golf or a money game or whatever. Just tell me a real good golf story.
The best shot I ever hit, one go back probably to like American Express 2 years ago. I had I was in the right rough on one of the closing par fives, and hit a 40-yard hook to a foot from 250. So, I mean, that was probably a really good one there. I would say like one of the more important putts I feel like to set up the Monday run in 21 was at Corrales. I was on the cut line and I had a 3-footer to make the cut, and that was another one. Like, I was shaking my boots. I mean, I kind of had like a 15-footer, and I kind of blew it by 3-4 feet, and had not been putting well that day. And that was a very shaky putt that was, in my opinion, a really huge putt in my career, because that kind of set me up for a nice little run that I think had that year. So if that doesn't go in, I probably don't have that run. So it's that was a huge putt that definitely felt the nerves, and it's feelings you never have until you're in the moment.
Did you bury that putt, or did you eke it in? What happened?
Oh, it was dead center. I did not think it would be dead center, but it was dead center. So.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Any wild stories from the mini tours? I hear guys thinking they missed the cut. They're having a couple cold ones with their buddies, and then they get a text they're back in, or sleeping in cars. Have you ever experienced any of this stuff?
I mean, I spent a full year down in South America playing, and there's a lot of stories from there. I mean, you got to expect something going wrong down there. Like Tim, the guy that won this week, Lecom. I mean, we were down in Colombia, and he had some stomach problems and had to go to the hospital, and he went to the hospital, and as he's leaving the hospital, they had some mixture with the payment, and like I guess he overpaid or something like that, and they gave him extra cash, and he was walking outside, and he got robbed at gunpoint. I mean, they took all the cash, passport, and he's Sweden citizen, so like he got stuck there for a day. Like there's just a bunch of stories in South America like that. I think one of my craziest golf stories, like in terms of playing, is U.S. Open locals one year. I went off like first group, shot like, and it was really cold, windy, hard golf course, shot like 72 or 73. And I was like, I have no chance. I drove an hour and a half home, was sitting in the house and looking at the scores. And I was like, man, I actually might make it. So I had to drive all the way back from Louisville, hour and a half drive, showed up on the last group just to find out I'm in a playoff. And I go birdie the first hole and get right back in the car and get through. So, I mean, there's always some crazy stories, but definitely in Latin, I think I don't know how appropriate some of the stories are, but there's a lot of stories down there.
It's the Wild West. Even though it's South, it may as well be the Wild West. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like everybody says, you got to expect something to go wrong. I mean, there's kids getting sick left and right. I mean, we're relying. You don't want to drive down there, so like you got to rely on Ubers. So like you're giving yourself an extra 2 hours to get to the golf course because you really don't know what's going to happen down there. So,
yeah. Stephen Stallings Jr. is our guest here. Wrapping it up here, Stephen, tell me what's next for you. What are you working on? What's your next event?
So I'm going to play in it's 2 weeks. The Monday, do a Monday qual for the Myrtle Beach PGA Tour event. So that'll be next initially, but the rest of this year, kind of waiting on some things. I had some conversations with my agent this week that there's a couple possibilities coming up, but I'm also playing. I'm not playing with any status this year, so it's going to be a lot of Mondays and seeing if I can get in certain events. It just kind of depends. Mixing some mini tours and stuff like that. But just kind of seeing if I can get something going. Get hot and get on a little stretch and maybe build some points or some status somewhere, and then just try to improve and get ready. Really, at the end of the day, it comes to the fall. So like Q school, and if you can maybe get some points going to get in some sort of playoffs, whether it's in the U.S. or somewhere in the world. So to try to build for next year. So that's kind of the main goal, and just try to get better every day. So that's
well, I see you putting in the work. I know you're putting in the work, and you just got to get the hot hand. Like you've had a couple of years, and it could be your next event. I mean, that's how golf goes. How long will you chase it? Are you in it to win it for the long haul? Is there any plan, any timetable?
I don't think I should put a timetable to it. So I don't think like that. I just go week to week, see what happens. As long as I love it, I'll play. If I don't love it, then I'll maybe give it up. But at this moment, I still love it, and I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. I'm not a big believer in putting a timetable because it's like, then you start looking at that deadline instead of, just being in the moment and going week to week, because you never know what's going to happen for the most part in golf. So it's just about getting better. And then if the time comes, I have other interests or fall in love with something else, then that's what I'll do. But at the moment, I'm not putting a timetable to it, and I'm just going to put my head down and get to work and hopefully have a good year this year.
Be in the moment, be present. I love it. That's not just for golf, but just for life in general. I know you have some sponsors that helped you out. You want to give them some love, give them a shout out?
Yeah. So, I've been with Strixon since college. They're a club company that make a really good golf ball and really good irons, make Cleveland wedges. Have been a long time there. So they make some really good stuff, and they've been pretty loyal to me, and I'm glad to be a part of them. Then Winslow Technology Group, Premier Packaging, and ISCO, they've all been around real and good people to me, and they helped me out, with a lot of things, and I'm really appreciative of that. And we have looking forward to continuing those relationships.
Stephen Stallings Jr. has been our guest here on It's Party Time, My Golf Story, shared his golf story. Hey, listen, buddy, I wish you nothing but the best. I hope things work out great, and I hope you'll come back. You cool with that?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm good with that. Sure, okay. We'll see you around.
Yep, I'm around, man. Come on over to this side of Mulligan Way from time to time, or I'll come down and crash a party in your neighborhood. It wouldn't be the first one that I've written. That's party center where you live, where the party people are in our neighborhood here.
The street. I think we're quiet over here.
I don't know. I mean, Mulligan Way is the party street at Lakewood National Golf Club. And for that, we're lucky. All right. Big thanks to Party Drinks, title sponsor. If you're looking for a great drink alternative, Party is the drink for you. And once again, a big thanks to the Golf Real Estate Pros, Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro from suncoastdreams.com. Check them out at suncoastdreams.com, a division of fine properties in the greater Sarasota area. For Stephen Stallings Jr., I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you again next time on It's Party Time, My Golf Story.
You've been listening to It's Party Time, My Golf Story, brought to you by Party Drinks. Classically designed golf drinks for golfers by golfers, and the Golf Real Estate Pros Gene Walsh and Vince Visicaro. For your Southwest Florida real estate needs, check them out at suncoastdreams.com or call 941-220-4000.
This is Vince Visicaro and Gene Walsh with the suncoastdreams.com real estate team at Fine Properties. We've helped hundreds of families find their dream homes in golf and resort communities in Lakewood Ranch, Bradenton, Sarasota, Parrish, Venice, and the surrounding areas.
Let us be your guides to finding your dream home here as well. Learn more at suncoastdreams.com or call us at 941-220-4000.